So, what are we watching this week?
I'll give you a hint.
Welcome back to the Out of Touch podcast. I'm Chris, that's Bill, and today we are talking about Arrow, the TV series from the CW that I think came out in 2012.
Yes.
And ran for 8 seasons.
We're pretty much coming up on its 10th anniversary.
Wow. So, Bill, why did you want to talk about Arrow?
Well, like I said, it's coming up on its 10th anniversary, but also, soon enough, The Flash is coming to an end, and with it, the universe that this show spawned. The self-titled, occasionally Arrowverse.
Yeah. I've heard it called mostly the Arrowverse. Sometimes I've heard it called the Flareoverse, but I don't like that title as much.
Kevin Smith tried to make that a thing, and that's like one... I like Kevin Smith, but I don't like that about Kevin Smith.
Yeah.
It's like, shut up, Kevin Smith, about that. I know you like The Flash more, but shut up.
Well, this, I guess, was, in many ways, like the first... I don't know if I want to say it was the first good live-action superhero TV show. At least one of the first ones I saw that was actually good, besides for like Adam West's 1966 Batman, but that's kind of like a different thing.
It's of a different era.
Yeah.
It's the first one in like a very long time that was like good.
Yeah.
But also like actually about a superhero wearing their, he's got the costume on.
Yeah.
He's doing the thing. Like prior to this, it was just like Smallville for a decade.
Yeah.
And during that decade, there was only 2 other superhero shows. Birds of Prey, which, no. And then there was that Blade show that, like, 3 people remember.
Oh, yeah. Which I never saw, but I heard that one was actually pretty good.
I watched it. I thought it was all right at the time.
Yeah.
I haven't watched it since, so I have no idea how well it's aged. But, hey, it was Blade every week for a short amount of time.
Well, I guess this was the first major one that started the trend of superhero TV as we know it right now.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like this show does kind of owe its existence to Smallville because it was on the WB network, then CW, for 10 seasons. It even had its own version of Green Arrow, and that probably gave interest in having Green Arrow on TV. But I feel like pretty much all modern superhero shows only exist because of Arrow. Because from Arrow, we got The Flash and all the other connected shows that Berlanti made. And then, honestly, I don't think we get Daredevil without this.
Yeah, I think that's true. Yeah, it's weird. When this show came out, I originally thought it was a spin-off of Smallville. But then I remember you telling me, like, no, it's its own thing. And I was like, okay. And I remember I was pretty reluctant to actually start watching this show. But then you were like, no, you gotta see it. It's like legitimately cool. And then I finally watched it, and it was legitimately cool.
At the time, I'll admit, I was just like starving for any live action DC content because we would just get like a Batman movie every 3 to 4 years at that point.
Yeah.
Like I literally was just like, well, this might scratch the itch until Man of Steel comes out. And it did more than that. Beyond more than that. Definitely.
It's hard to like remember that this was before Batman v Superman.
Yeah, it was like it came out shortly after The Dark Knight Rises.
Yeah.
Man of Steel hadn't even come out yet.
Yeah, because it was like the Avengers kind of just hit. And then like a lot of people were like, oh, what's DC got? And then this came out and it was like, hey, this is pretty good. And then, everything from there kind of expanded out from here, but I don't know where to go, like, to start talking about this show. It's so massive, and I guess that's a good thing, but also maybe a bad thing with how long it, like, went on, because I definitely feel like, for the most part, out of all the Arrow shows, this one was the one that I more or less watched the whole thing. I didn't piece out of this one. I came pretty close to piecing out because season 4 was kind of not great, but then I came back for season 5.
Yes.
So
I still remember the episode I saw it and I was like, no, dude, you gotta start watching again.
Yeah.
I don't know. I remember, and this is God, no one will freaking even remember this reference, but shortly after Smallville, but a year before this came out, there was that terrible attempt at a superhero show, The Cape.
Yep.
Because I remember we both tried watching it, and we were both like, no.
It's one of the worst TV shows I've ever seen in my life.
Yeah, I just remember when it was on, I was like, why can't we get a superhero show about an actual, like, comic book character again?
Yeah.
And then we got this. And I remember when that show first premiered, I was like, dude, it's like that show The Cape, but done right.
Probably not a good way to, like, sell it. It's like The Cape, except better.
It was such
This is like, The Cape's pretty bad.
It was such an inside joke
Yeah.
between the two of us, because we both like saw this one terrible show that we're probably the only people outside of maybe people that watch that show Community even bothered to remember.
It's so weird now, because, like, The Cape, I'm just like, like in South Park with Mysterion. I'm like, The Cape kind of looks like Mysterion.
Oh my God, you're right.
Yeah.
So I guess we could start talking about how at least the original framework of the show,
Yeah.
how it was both like the story of Green Arrow in like present day, but also his like prolonged origin story, like the show that like Smallville was and in some ways Gotham was, but it was just relegated to a flashback storyline that went on for 5 years in the show.
Yeah. So, I mean, I guess in case you didn't know, Oliver Queen is a rich playboy who gets stranded on an island for 5 years and then comes back to his city and has to avenge his father, who was, I guess, kind of responsible for some nefarious stuff happening in the city, but there was a bunch of, like, rich people that he also, like, wanted Oliver to kill.
Quite, but sort of. Sort of. That's kind of how it seems at first.
Yeah, because his dad killed himself. For
his
penance.
dad, because he basically got in the bed with the wrong people, and they were taking things too far, and he got a conscience about it, and there was a bomb on the boat because of it.
Yeah. It's an interesting setup. Like, I don't know too much about, like, Green Arrow, the comic book character.
I know he does have, like, several years on an island.
Yeah.
That's part of his story. I don't think it's this elaborate of an odyssey, because I like that as far back as the first season, even the first episode, there's a few things that thrown in there that make you go like, was he always just on the island? Because he comes back, he inexplicably can speak Russian now, and I was like, I didn't know you spoke Russian.
He's got tattoos.
Yeah, he's got these mysterious tattoos, a lot of scars.
Yeah.
And later on in the first season, he reveals, it's like, I wasn't always on the island. And we find out he spent some time on a boat. He was in Hong Kong at one point. He was in Russia.
It's crazy. There's a lot that really happens in this show, and it'll be hard to talk about like all 8 seasons. Definitely I'm not as familiar with the show, even though I've seen most of it as you are. But I watched the pilot recently, and it's a really good show. And I legit was getting sucked into it, like, again.
Yeah, I watched the pilot too, and next thing I knew, I was watching the second episode, and I realized, I'm like, if I keep going, I'm gonna be like halfway through the first season.
Yeah, there's like a lot of intrigue at the beginning. Like, Oliver's like pretty much like a cool character. When you see him in the past, he was kind of like this annoying, like, douchey rich guy, rich kid, But now he's like all like cool and serious, and he's a man on a mission, and he has all these like cool skills and everything. It is interesting, like
it is always weird going back to like the first couple episodes, because they have like voiceover.
Yeah.
Because he didn't have anyone he could talk to about what he was doing.
Right.
But then once they got Diglett involved, they're like, okay, we don't need this voiceover anymore.
Yeah, like Diggle is in the first episode. He's a hired bodyguard for Oliver, who eventually becomes his, like, I guess, like, best friend and second in command.
Essentially, yeah.
Yeah.
I think at first they were kind of going for almost a bit of an Alfred almost, because he's involved, but he doesn't always go in the field.
Yeah.
But he just got more and more involved into the field because they were like, well, this guy is like, he's a Marine. He's built like a brick.
Yeah,
he should be out there kicking ass too.
Yeah, Diggle was kind of always like, like his partner.
Yeah.
And then we also get Felicity Smoke, who's his other partner, who essentially is his guy in the chair or girl in the chair at this point, kind of like Oracle, I guess, from Batman.
Yep.
There's a lot of Batman. In this.
You think? Like, being a Batman fan, I think part of the reason why I like this version of Green Arrow is because of how much like Batman he is.
Yeah.
Like, I don't consider myself a fan of Green Arrow. I'm a fan of this version of Green Arrow.
Me too. And when you read the comic version is a pretty different character in some ways. In fact, like, I know some people that like the comic version of Green Arrow, but not this version of Green Arrow. And then when I see Green Arrow and other things, and I'm like, dude, why is Green Arrow saying all these jokes and stuff? This is weird. And it's like, this is how Green Arrow actually is, not like that TV show. I'm like, I like the TV show better.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah.
But you know what? I'll just say, like, I don't really consider myself a Green Arrow fan. I'm an Arrow fan.
Yeah.
I like this version of Green Arrow. I liked, at first Green Arrow in Smallville, I enjoyed him, but then he got kind of weird and suicide-y, and I stopped really liking him.
I remember his weird-ass goggles he had.
Yeah, he didn't have a mask. He had, like, night vision sunglasses.
Yeah. And
they were afraid of masks in that show.
Yeah. At the beginning of this show, he's got his hood, and then he's got his, like, grease paint on his face. And, I think the grease paint is pretty cool for the most part.
I'll admit, though, I liked it when he finally got the mask in the second season.
Yeah, I do like how there was, like, justification why he didn't have the mask, but, like, at the same time, it's like, he says it would impede his eyesight, but it's like, okay, then why are you wearing a hood? But...
He's got to hide his head somehow.
Yeah. It's like, that's even worse. But, yeah, this started everything. We meet Barry Allen in the show, who becomes the Flash.
Yep.
He even is responsible for Green Arrow getting his mask.
Yeah, he makes it for him.
Yeah. Which is pretty cool. But this show goes from being very grounded, but... more or less, by the second season, they introduce superpowers.
I mean, the first bit of superpowers, it's more like a super steroid.
Yeah.
If you had told me as far back as, hell, even with season 2, but even just go back to, like, season 1, it's like, hey, how do you think this show's going to end? I'm like, I don't know. He shoots a guy with an arrow and he fights him on a rooftop. It's like, no. He's going to have a duel at the dawn of time against the Anti-Monitor. It's like, I'm sorry, what?
Yeah. It's like the escalation of this show from being relatively grounded to being like batshit insane is kind of incredible. And it's incredible in a way where it more or less sort of works.
It did happen gradually.
Yeah. Like, it didn't like just completely go off the rails immediately. Like, when, like, Barry Allen showed up, it was kind of, like, still gradual. But then, when you really think about it, having the interconnected nature of this show and The Flash, I've never watched through the whole series just, like, with Arrow. Because, at one point, you were watching Arrow and you were watching Flash. And, they had their crossovers and stuff. But you got a lot of stuff from The Flash that kind of bleeds over into the show. Like... alternate universes and stuff like that.
Diggle having a daughter that suddenly became a son because of time travel shenanigans.
Oh my god, yes. I forgot about that.
Laurel gets killed, but then all of a sudden a different Laurel from another universe is around.
Yeah, but she's bad, but then learns how to be nice.
But then another one who's like a Nazi pops up on the Flash, and you're like, my head's spinning.
Yeah, it's complicated.
It's very complicated. This is like a show that I feel like if you watched like the first 2 seasons of, you'd be fine. Season 3, you'd be like, okay. Season 4, but then after a certain point, you'd be like, wait, Oliver's got a son? When did that happen? Oh, you had to watch the crossovers for that because they happened on episodes of The Flash. What?
Yeah. I will say, like, from what little I rewatched to do this, because there's no way I could have watched all 8 seasons of this, and even watching, like, the series premiere and finale for each season is a shit ton of episodes.
Well, no one told you had to do that.
No, I know. But I will say what little I've seen of this gigantic show again. One thing that really stuck out to me, even at the beginning, was the world building of the show was like really well done. Like even from the beginning, like in season 2, we've got like Malcolm Merlin, kind of still harassing Oliver's mother because he's the main villain of season 1, but
Yeah.
he lives for quite a bit. But like we've got Oliver's mother mentioning the League of Assassins in season 2, but we don't really even see them until season 3.
Even before that, Malcolm mentions being trained by someone at Nanda Parbat
Yeah,
as in season 1. So they seeded the League of Assassins as far back as the first season, and then we get like a name drop, and then we meet a couple members like Anissa, and then we don't meet Ra's al Ghul until season 3.
yeah,
I really like that slow, gradual world building. But my favorite one, though, and you probably would like this one. You probably like this one too. In the first episode, literally in the first minute of the show, when Oliver's getting rescued, we get this pan across this quick island shot, and there's just a Deathstroke mask with an arrow in it.
yeah.
I remember when I saw that, I was like, dude, they better pay that off.
Deathstroke in this show, probably one of the best villains in this show. Probably the best, although I do remember, I forgot which season it is, but the season where he has, oh man, this is bad. I was afraid this would happen. The guy that was like the crooked cop who was also the other vigilante.
Are you talking about Prometheus?
Yeah, that guy.
Well, he was like, not a cop, he was like the DA or something, wasn't he?
Okay.
But he was they did like a double bluff with that because Adrian Chase is Vigilante, and
Yeah.
Vigilante was running around. So anyone that knows the comics is like, oh, yeah, that guy's actually Vigilante. That's why he's like so gung-ho about you. Oh, no, he's Prometheus.
Yeah.
And Vigilante is just some other guy.
Yeah, because I think Prometheus was the one that like blew up the island in
Yes.
the like season finale. It's like between Prometheus and Deathstroke, those are probably the two best villains. Oh no, Diaz. Diaz was also a really good villain.
I liked him too.
Yeah.
He was a more grounded, but also just like the damage he managed to cause.
Yeah, like he was like kind of like this like villain in the background, but like just kind of like taking opportunities. Diaz was cool.
Yeah. It was very satisfying when he finally got his.
Yeah, but I will say, like, everybody that watched the show, the first 2 seasons, the whole stuff between Arrow and Deathstroke is amazing. The guy that plays Deathstroke is so good.
Oh, yeah, he was great. It always bothered me when it was like, what do you mean you can't use Deathstroke now?
Yeah.
Fucking bullshit.
I mean, I don't know, like, I know later on they tried to make Deathstroke kind of like a good guy, like, towards the end where we last saw him, but... Man, when he was like the villain.
Oh, it was great. I mean,
season 2.
I didn't mind his little redemption arc at the end. I was just happy to see him again. I'm not gonna lie, I think.
That actor, Manu Bennett.
Yeah, he was great.
So good in this show.
Yeah, he was definitely missed when he was gone.
Yeah, plus like Deathstroke in this show like looks so good. Like I'd even say even looks a little better than the movie version we were gonna get.
I barely remember because that thing was on screen for like 2 seconds.
Yeah, it's just like I do remember, when they were.
We've had 4 live-action Deathstrokes.
Yeah.
We have the one that was in the movie for 3 seconds,
Yeah.
and I guess 5 more seconds in the Snyder Cut.
Right.
We had the one in Titans, which that was actually pretty good.
He was fine. He was a little like weirdly crazy though for me.
I don't mind Deathstroke being crazy.
Yeah.
Especially when he has to like fight the Titans because his son's dead. He should be a little more unhinged.
Yeah.
We had the one from Arrow, which just from a performance standpoint is my favorite. And then of course, we had the Smallville one.
Oh boy.
It was like a General Slade Wilson. And then he shows up later and he's all like enhanced. And he says the worst line in the history of ever.
Let's just say the Reaper can swing his sickle at me, but I'm beyond death's stroke now.
Smallville was trying, Bill.
No, they weren't! That was the problem! Or maybe they were, which is scary.
Yeah.
Oh, God.
It's a long time ago.
Not enough. Not long enough. It was one of the worst things Smallville ever did.
Yeah. I think the coolest part about this version of Deathstroke is just like how he is crazy and he's hallucinating Shadow, who is this girl that died on the island. But at the same time, he's like so like methodical, and he has this like plan to like ruin Oliver's life because he's just a dick.
He's got another guy running around in a supervillain mask doing his bidding.
Yeah.
Brother Blood.
It's awesome. It's one of the most memorable things for me with this show. It was like season 2 was like such a like high of this show because you just had, you know, Barry Allen show up. You're like, holy shit, the Flash is gonna be in this, and then Deathstroke was just like this incredible villain.
Yeah, I mean that the second season really started leaning more into a lot more comic book stuff.
Yeah.
Because I think that was the season the Suicide Squad showed up. Amanda Waller was around.
Yeah.
We had Deathstroke, obviously. We met Barry. We were supposed to meet the Flash that season because there was originally going to be a backdoor pilot. But then his debut was so strong that they were like, you know what? Real pilot.
Yeah.
You get a real pilot. No backdoor pilot shit. Which, considering the history of the CW and backdoor pilots, it's probably for the best.
Yeah. You know, season 3 was Ra's al Ghul.
I think that season peaked a little too early. Because
Yeah.
I love that mountain fight. I like
cool.
that it's a homage to, it's another Batman ripoff.
Oh, yeah.
Because they have a shirtless sword fight.
Yep.
Batman's always shirtless sword fighting Ra's al Ghul in the desert. This time it was on a mountain.
Yeah.
But I love that he like takes 2 swords and he's just like, you're unarmed. It's like, I'll relieve you of your weapons when you're done with them. And he just stabs him through the chest and kicks him off a mountain.
Yeah.
That was great. That was a hell of a way to end mid-season that year.
Yeah, you know, it definitely peaked too early. Season 4 was the one I definitely pieced out in, which was Damien Dark. He was like the original successor to Ra's al Ghul.
Because he was also part of the League of Assassins at one point. He
Yeah.
brought in magic to the situation.
That's right.
Which led to a pretty fun guest appearance from the Constantine, fresh off, well, not that fresh off, his canceled show from NBC.
Yeah, I think it was like a year or 2 out.
It was like a year later, maybe, or like a year after the show had premiered, maybe. I forget.
Yeah.
I liked Damien Dark. I think he was in too many episodes, though I think he was better utilized in like
Legends of Tomorrow.
in seasons 2 and 3 of Legends of Tomorrow.
Yeah.
It's crazy the longevity that guy has had in that universe.
It is insane that Damien Dark and Malcolm Merlin, like, it's
Yeah.
just like this like duo that shows up in a completely other show that never happened in Arrow, really.
Yeah. It's even crazier because like Damien Dark, he showed up in The Flash last year.
Wow, really?
Yes.
But he's dead.
I know, but the Reverse Flash created an alternate timeline and he was alive again briefly.
Okay.
And I was like, you know what? I'll allow it because I like this guy.
Yeah.
He's always fun. Even when Legends was getting bad, he showed up again as like a ghost, and it was a fun episode because
Yeah.
he's hilarious.
Yeah, I think season 5 was Prometheus,
Yes.
right?
That was cool because Prometheus was like revenge for Oliver's murderous first season.
Yeah.
It was like his past coming back to haunt him. That was cool. I enjoyed that.
I really like season 5, and then season 5 I feel like is like maybe where the show should have ended, just because it's like you're out of flashbacks.
Yeah,
What are you gonna do now? Uh-oh.
Well, for one season, they didn't do anything, but they just kept the story going forward.
Yeah.
And somebody had the bright idea of flash forwards,
Yeah, to like a dark future.
which that stuff started out interesting, and I started to not like it.
Yeah. I really can't remember. It's weird because like that stuff is definitely the later stuff, and besides for like the crossovers, you know, it's hard to remember exactly some of the stuff from those later seasons besides the mini arc where he's in prison.
Yeah, well, yeah, from season 6 onwards, like the season 6 and 7, each season's kind of broken into like 2 like kind of like arcs of sorts. Like the first half of season 6, there was this villain, Caden James, who was this like tech guy out for revenge, but then he gets supplanted by Ricardo Diaz.
Right.
And then season 7, the first half he's in prison.
Yeah.
And then it's his vengeful half-sister for the rest of it.
That's right.
And then season 8 is just the countdown to the Crisis on Infinite Earths.
Right.
We should talk real quick about like this show, for what it was, actually has some pretty good action in it.
The fight choreography in Arrow is always pretty solid. I mean, from the beginning. Probably out of all the shows, it had the strongest like fights, and it's probably because they didn't have to rely on like superpowers or visual effects for the most part.
The most visual effects they really had was the Arrows.
Yeah. There's a lot of good moments. The fight between, Arrow and Deathstroke is great.
I love that it cross cuts between their first fight and the present day.
Yeah.
That's cool.
Yeah.
We talked briefly about the first Ra's al Ghul fight.
Yeah.
I enjoy his fight with Damien Dark because it's just like chaos. There's just people everywhere. Rewatching that was fun because watching some of the action and like some of the later stuff, like Flash and stuff, it's just like there's all this empty space. There's nobody around. It's just people in bright colored outfits like flailing about. It just feels less interesting for some reason.
Yeah. Reference Bill's epic rant about Flash season 7?
Insert lightsaber fight joke here.
Yeah. Yeah, I guess like that was another thing like we were kind of talking about where, I don't know if we talked about it on camera, but when you said, these superhero shows seem to work better when it's like street level heroes as opposed to being like super powered heroes, and it definitely shows with this show. And like even like, Daredevil.
That's the best Marvel show.
Yeah.
Because, unless you really know how to like work the budget.
Yeah.
And know when to like do your big superhero thing. If you're trying to do something like every week, the Flash needs to run real fast. It's diminishing returns quality wise a lot of the times, and often after a certain point, it looks cheaper and cheaper. Like I've seen some like later days Supergirl clips, and it was like, whoa, what happened?
Yeah. And I guess that's like the trade-off because like the longer these shows run, the more money they have to pay the actors, and the less goes into the actual production of the show, possibly.
Sometimes.
Yeah.
But on the flip side, I remember watching the first season of Batwoman while watching the last season of Arrow, and I remember Batwoman's action had been kind of lackluster, and like there was one episode I'm like, oh, I think they might be upping their game a little bit. And then I watched Arrow that week, and they had this like insane battle on the island Lian Yu, and I'm just like, man, Batwoman, what the fuck are you doing?
Yeah, I guess it's also like the people behind the show too that like really, as the show went on, they really knew what they were doing for these action scenes. They had the formula, they had like a lot of like really good stunt people that, they worked with for a long time and probably knew exactly how to fight for this show and everything. And
because they don't have a lot of time. They had like compared to like a Daredevil probably did. I remember the last episode, they have like a flashback. Oliver's dead at this point, but they literally only did it. I remember Stephen Amell saying like, we did it this is a gift for the fans. Just this like prolonged action scene, and it's awesome. It's one of the best ones the show ever had.
Yeah.
And it's great.
Yeah. That's one thing you could always rely on for this show would be having good fights. Also like, they had Stephen Amell parkour all the time at the beginning, showing off his salmon ladder.
Salmon ladder.
Gotta get those abs in, man.
Yeah. I mean, he actually had like legit parkour skills, and that salmon ladder thing was just the thing he did.
Yeah.
And they just threw it into the show. It became almost a running gag after a while.
Yeah. It's just like, I'm angry. I'm gonna go to salmon ladder. Do my exercises. I mean, there was always the things where I think like the visual effects where like, he'd bounce all the tennis balls around and shoot them all like perfectly. I'm pretty sure nobody can do that in real life.
I couldn't tell you. Not an archer. Never followed that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
But there's somebody that could do it.
Probably. Which is cool.
Who's got the better archer series? Marvel or DC?
Definitely DC.
Well, there's only 6 episodes of Hawkeye.
Yeah. But, yeah, such a massive show. It's hard to talk about all of it.
Yeah.
A lot of things we left out, like Detective Lance, who's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Who I think eventually does get killed.
Yeah, but he gets resurrected. Post-crisis.
Of course.
A post-crisis Band-Aid.
A lot of people have died and resurrected in this show.
Yeah. His other sister, his mother.
That's right. The mom got resurrected at the end.
Yeah. But not Laurel, which people were upset by, but they created they basically explained in other shows that doppelgangers couldn't coexist. So that bringing back that Laurel would have killed other Laurel,
Okay.
I guess.
That's weird.
Bit of a cop-out.
Yeah.
You could have just had two Laurels standing there and be like, so this is weird. Yeah, it's a bit weird.
Yeah. You know, the show has, like, so many characters, so, I guess, like,
We'll start with Oliver.
yeah.
He's the main character of the show. One thing I say about him that I can't say for the Flash, because they both have had multiple costumes across their shows, I never disliked any of his variations. I've generally liked them all. Like, he's got the season 1 costume with the grease paint, and then season 2 and 3, he gets the mask and like the jacket changes like slightly. Season 4, he's got the sleeveless look, which is all right. Then season 5 through part of 7, he's got basically the season 4 look, but with sleeves, because they filmed that show in Vancouver and it was cold.
Yeah.
Which created a pretty ironic line when the Flash sees him in that sleeveless outfit. He's like, don't you get cold? He's like, no. But in actuality, yes.
Yeah. I definitely think, like, the look with the sleeves just looked better, and it just felt more practical, too, because it's just like...
That was even their excuse in Universe, because they did a flashback showing what happened between season 4 and 5 for him to switch, where he got like, I got an arm injury. Yeah, I should probably protect my arms again.
Yeah.
And the one thing I didn't like with season 7 is, his secret identity got outed, and he stopped wearing the mask, but he could have at least left the hood up.
Yeah.
Because it looks cooler with the hood. But then in season 8, he's just got a new costume, and he's just wearing the mask again because, fuck you, it looks cool.
Yeah, it's weird because, like, Oliver Queen is, like, you know, man on the mission, out to get revenge, vigilante, stops trying to kill people, to, like, being CEO of, like, his company.
The mayor.
Yeah, I was going to say, to, like, being the mayor of Starling City.
Then a deputized vigilante towards the end.
Yeah. It's interesting. You know, a lot of these CW shows always have their romantic subplots in this show, and I would say for the most part, none of the romantic subplots really annoyed me that much. For the most part, the only thing I do remember is, like, he had some flings at the beginning of the show with, like, Huntress, and, like, there was the thing with, like, him and Laurel.
Well, she was the original main love interest because she's Dinah Laurel Lance.
Yeah.
She's supposed to be Black Canary.
Yeah.
She was for a little while, but then she was dead. And I don't know why, both of live action versions of Green Arrow, instead of ending up with Black Canary, ended up with the computer tech girl that does the Oracle job.
Yeah, you know, and it was weird because, like, you know, as the show went on, it was like, you know, you kind of got to the point where it was like, kind of like, why aren't Oliver and Felicity together? And then there was like a part where they were going to be together, but then they weren't.
Yeah.
And then, like, some stuff happened, and then they were finally together, and you're just like, okay. Like, it's like, yeah, I get it. This is a CW show. You got to have this.
Yeah.
But, like, whatever.
One thing I don't understand, if the original intention was going to be Oliver and Laurel, because it clearly was.
Yeah.
Why they made it borderline impossible? Because in the original backstory of the show, Oliver and Laurel are dating. And then Oliver cheats on Laurel with her sister Sarah, goes with Oliver on the boat. When the boat sinks, she's lost at sea. He thinks she's dead, but they reunite in the island and other stuff happens. But that creates this, like, impossible rift where, as she puts it, my boyfriend died while cheating on me with my sister, who also died, as far as she knew.
Yeah.
How is someone supposed to get over that?
Yeah, for 5 years.
She had that in her mind for 5 years, that her boyfriend died cheating on her with her sister, who also died. Like, that is like, you can't, how do you get past that?
Yeah.
It's insane why they would do that. It could have just been, oh, he cheated on her. Okay. And then that girl died. Or maybe she came back as an assassin too. But it's her sister too.
Yeah.
Which made it crazy.
Yeah, it was definitely a weird choice.
I mean, that character had her own weird trajectory in general.
Yeah, she sure did. You know, Sarah eventually comes into the show around season 2. She's the original Black Canary.
Or just Canary.
Yeah. I think she's also connected to the League of Assassins.
Yeah, because she was in the League of Assassins.
Right.
She tries to leave. She goes back. She gets murdered.
Yeah.
Gets resurrected. goes and travels through time,
Yeah.
dies, and gets replaced by a clone.
Yeah. We're not talking about that other show.
Nope.
Yeah. It's interesting, there's so many characters. Like we've got Roy Harper, who is Oliver's sidekick, I think, for at least 2 seasons. He also is super powered for a while, but I think he gets rid of him.
He gets cured.
Yeah.
Like everybody else with the Mirror Crew, he gets cured.
Yeah. It's weird because, these shows, they run for so long and definitely actors don't want to, like, do them anymore. So, they're constantly writing in, like, new characters. And as the show goes on, Oliver gets his own, like, super team that has, like...
Mr. Terrific.
Yeah.
Wild Dog. Ragman for a minute. A different Black Canary.
Yeah.
Artemis. Till she was evil.
Yeah.
Because Artemis is evil in the comics.
Yeah. So many people.
I think that was all of them. And Diggle. Well, obviously Diggle.
Yeah.
Was there anyone else?
No, I think...
Wait. We had Roy as Arsenal.
Yeah.
His sister is Speedy as well.
Oh, yeah, that's right. Thea had her own, like, arc from being, like, a party girl to being a drug addict to being a business owner.
To being a superhero.
Yeah.
To being, I'm leaving the show. Bye, everybody.
Yeah. Finds out her biological father is Malcolm Merlyn. Gets trained by him.
Yep.
Which is, like, Malcolm Merlyn really sticks around a lot in the show. I can't remember. Does he die in season 4?
5.
Okay, he does in season 5.
He blows himself and Captain Boomerang up.
That's right.
And some random ninjas.
I forgot Captain Boomerang's in this show, and
yeah, not the Flash.
Pretty good, yeah. I mean, like that's another thing too. Like some of the best like villains in this show too are like kind of like removed from the show for like dumb reasons. Like like we said, Deathstroke. Deadshot was in this show, and he was actually really cool. And
they blew him up because of. There was like a moment where they were just bumping off all the Suicide Squad characters because of the Suicide Squad movie.
Yeah.
It was like. Deadshot, dead. Amanda Waller, shot in the head.
Yeah, seriously.
I was shocked in season 4 when Katana popped up and she lived.
That's right.
Hell, I was just like, well, I guess Captain Boomerang got away a lot. Oh no, never mind. He's came back and died.
Now we've seen Captain Boomerang die twice.
Yeah, and apparently the next season of The Flash is gonna have a new Captain Boomerang. Will he also die?
Huh. Interesting. Yeah, it's fun and weird that Warner Brothers has all these dumb roles like this. Where
they're so flip-floppy. It's like, hey, can we use Blue Beetle? No, we got plans for Blue Beetle. When? In like 12 years.
We're still thinking of them, but we definitely have plans, damn it.
It's like, I guess we're using the Atom then instead of Blue Beetle like we wanted to.
It's another thing. Freaking Atom is in this show.
Yeah.
Like,
yes, he is.
I think he is season 3 character.
Yep.
Played by Brandon Routh, who's Superman.
Yep. And then those two characters met.
Yeah. It's crazy. It's such a big show that, goddamn, has so much weirdness that happens.
Seriously.
Like, it started so much, at the beginning of, this run, though. I remember this show was so good compared to, like, anything else, at least I've seen, superhero-related on TV. And I remember when they were gonna, do the live action DC movies, Batman v Superman, and then they're like, we're gonna do Flash, and everybody was like, why don't they get the Flash from the TV show? And at the time I was like, yeah, why don't they? But now it's just like, well, as much as I love
maybe they should have.
Well, hindsight is 2020. But But, like, at the time, it's like, you think when you're watching these shows, like, oh, man, these must be, like, the biggest shows on TV. And then, like, you find out, like, hardly anybody watches these shows. They're big for CW, but that's kind of it.
To be fair, there was a time when The Flash had better ratings than Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D.
Whoa. That's crazy.
Well, The Flash, at one point, when it first, like, premiered, was getting, like, 3+ million viewers.
Wow. Yeah. But...
yeah, nowadays, it's like, how many people watch these shows live? Barely 1 million.
Yeah.
But that's like network TV in general. It's like everyone watches TV differently.
Yeah, definitely. But, it was like, this was like, kind of the template for
it's crazy because I know Stephen Amell has talked a little bit about it. He never went into full detail, but he did have conversations years ago during the run of this show about potentially being in the movies.
I mean,
I don't know at what point this conversation happened, but clearly it didn't go anywhere.
yeah.
Clearly, at some point, Zack Snyder was like, I'm going to get my own Flash. That worked out.
Yeah. Well. Yeah. Oh boy.
I don't even want to get into that.
Yeah. But anyway, yeah, it started so much though.
It was the template that most of the other Arrowverse shows kind of followed. You had main character, tech person,
Yeah.
eventually leads a team of superheroes essentially, because Supergirl did that, Flash did that, even Black Lightning to a degree, even if it was just his daughters.
Yeah. Yeah, quite a few shows, were in this universe. And then, slowly, it's like this universe definitely had its finale with this show, with Crisis on Infinite Earths.
Yeah, it's hard to watch the ending of this show without, because you have to watch Crisis on Infinite Earths, because that's what the last season builds up to.
Yeah.
And the last 2 episodes are a backdoor pilot that wasn't very good, and then just an epilogue, because that's what the last episode is. It's an epilogue.
Yeah.
Like, it is weird,
It is.
because there's no other show that did something like that.
It's also weird that, like, one of the main characters of this show, like, Felicity, is, like, barely in the last season.
She's in 1 episode.
Yeah, because it's like the actress was like, nah, I'm done. And it's like, kind of like, this is what happens with these shows when they, like, just run too long. I don't know if it's, like, budget things. It's mostly, like, the actors want to move on to other things.
I mean, that is the only reason why this show is gone. Stephen Amell was like, I can't do this anymore.
Yeah, and it's fair, and maybe certain things shouldn't like last like forever. Like this show kind of had like a preset, like almost like he was on the island for 5 years. We have this flashback set up. Maybe we should do 5 solid seasons, and then that's kind of it.
But they went 8.
Yeah, they went 8. And the last season is like kind of like a shorter season too.
Yeah, it's like 10 episodes.
Yeah.
It's pretty cool because it actually kind of, in the first part especially, like paid homage to like the show itself. The first episode of the season, the first half of it is just like a weird cracked mirror version of the pilot.
Yeah.
Because he's on like Earth 2.
So bizarre that this show has like alternate worlds and
like I said,
all this stuff, and it's just like it goes from being so grounded to like 100% like comic booky, like full throttle.
Yeah.
Like, let's do it.
It's crazy.
It's like you think about it, it's like, hey, like Arrow's a pretty grounded show, and then he fights like that evil Nazi version of himself married to Supergirl. And it's just like, wait, what?
Yeah. I still remember watching the Invasion crossover, and like they're in the big final fight where they're all fighting the aliens. There's just like one shot where it's just like Oliver by himself, and he's just fighting the aliens, and I'm just like, how did this happen?
Yeah.
This guy was fighting people that was on a list in a notebook and telling them that they failed his city.
Yeah.
And he was shooting them with regular arrows.
Yeah.
And now he's punching aliens.
It's insane.
Alongside the Flash, Supergirl, Vixen, the Atom.
Yeah. Yeah, I guess that's one thing too. Like this show spanned, started other shows. It even had animated series briefly for like, little specials in between. Like you have that Vixen thing that's animated that is part of this whole universe. It's insane that DC was able to make a working universe on television, on the CW of all places, that was like pretty coherent, not as grand as, the MCU, but still kind of like, hey, we can do it too. Yet they could not get it to work for like the movies somehow.
Because they did the thing that Marvel did and that DC had did before in animation. They made one good thing.
Yeah.
And then they made another good thing. And they spun stuff off and crossed them all over.
Yeah.
That's what you gotta do. You gotta make a good thing.
Exactly.
Arrow was in its second season when they were like, well, maybe we'll do a Flash spinoff.
Yeah. It does seem like, it all like happened pretty fast from like the Flash spinoff though, because it was like,
Well, during the first season of The Flash, they're starting to introduce Firestorm. Arrow was introducing the Atom. They brought Sarah Lance back to life. They were already clearly planting the seeds for what became Legends of Tomorrow, which I think was originally just supposed to be a superhero team show, but then it became a weird time travel show.
yeah. I mean, I think like I'm trying to remember, but I think Supergirl came in around like season 3 of The Flash.
Actually, Supergirl was the second season of The Flash.
Okay.
Yeah. And she was on CBS, and they crossed over while she was still on CBS.
Yeah.
Which was crazy.
It was crazy. I think it was the only episode of that season I might have watched besides the pilot. But, yeah. And, from there, it was like, you got Supergirl, then you got Legends of Tomorrow.
They pulled out Constantine from his failed show.
Yeah. You got Black Lightning.
Which eventually got merged into everything.
Yeah. And then you got Batwoman, and then... and then you had Superman and Lois.
So they decided they wanted a divorce.
Yeah. But it's just insane.
I mean, I would say that you don't even get shows like, even though they're not connected, Stargirl, Titans, Doom Patrol, you don't get them without Arrow.
No, definitely not.
Because those are also produced by Berlanti.
Yeah.
And like I said, I don't think you get any of these other shows without Arrow succeeding.
Yeah.
I don't even think you get Daredevil. I legitimately don't think we get Daredevil without this show.
I think you're right, because this definitely made it, so like superheroes could be on TV and done well. And I don't know exactly what the numbers were when this was coming out, but it seemed like it was like pretty popular for like a while,
A little bit. I mean, the last time I actually did anything on Halloween was back in like 2015 and went to New York City for the parade, and I dressed as this version of Green Arrow.
Yeah.
I posed for like 50 pictures for people.
Because everybody liked the show. It was cool.
It was at its peak. They were going into like season 4 at this time.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it was at the peak of its popularity.
Definitely. I would say it's still pretty good.
Just watching the first episode, I was just like, part of me wants to just keep watching.
Yeah.
I don't know if I will because I'm just kind of busy at the moment, but
yeah.
I'm definitely going to, not too long from now, finally give it a from a beginning to end rewatch.
Yeah, that's one thing about rewatching the show that...
It's pretty daunting, isn't it?
Yeah, and not only that, but like it has the different crossovers, so I don't know exactly how that works if like, if you're watching it on like a streaming service like Netflix, if it's like smart enough to like just have the crossover episodes together.
Unfortunately, that's where the difficulty comes with streaming it.
Yeah.
Because for most part, you'll be fine because Arrow, Flash, Supergirl, Legends, they're all on Netflix. But when you get to Crisis on Infinite Earths, that one's on HBO Max.
Yeah, that's so weird. So like you would have to watch like 3 episodes, and then switch over to another streaming service to watch.
Well, I think the Batwoman one was like the second part of that crossover.
Oh, wow. Okay, yeah.
Or you know what? You buy the complete series of Arrow, or even any of the seasons that on Blu-ray that came out for that crossover. And I think all of them came with Crisis on Infinite Earths on a Blu-ray disc, so you can just watch that.
That's nice. And like that's the other thing, I guess, when you buy the complete series, at least you have the episodes of the other shows for the crossovers.
Just about all of them.
Okay.
I think the only thing it lacks might be one of the like the Flash versus Arrow it might not have. I'm not sure. Because I remember, I think I was looking and I was like, it was missing one.
Weird.
There was like one thing that was like missing, but everything else, because it was usually there as like a bonus feature or something. But it does have like the Crisis on Infinite Earths Blu-ray disc. Also, I don't understand. This is weird, and I don't understand. But in the UK, the crossovers were on like their own bundles.
Yeah.
Like you could get Invasion, Elseworlds, Crisis on Earth X, and Crisis on Infinite Earths in separate box sets.
Makes sense.
Absolutely. But I guess physical media is more alive there than here.
I guess so. Definitely gotta get that Region B player. But, man, Europe, Region B. It's like, hey, why are we Region B? Yeah, you guys kind of feel like a B type of country.
It's like, because we're Region A, because we invented it.
Yeah. It's like Futurama. It's like, this place seems like a Universe 2 type of situation. But, yeah.
It's going to be weird when The Flash ends and the book gets closed on the universe that Arrow created, because I thought the legacy of Arrow would have lasted just a little bit longer than it ended up. But, weird things have been happening with the CW and WB in general. And,
yeah.
Batwoman and Legends Tomorrow got taken out back and killed Old Yeller style. And, Melissa Benoist pieced out and she was done with Supergirl, and Black Lightning kind of ended prematurely. I think there was some stuff going on there that kind of resulted in that show ending.
I want to say, at least, didn't Black Lightning and Supergirl, though, at least get a finale?
Yeah. It was the Black Lightning finale felt a little rushed, but, it is a finale.
Okay.
And
I know, Legends ended with a cliffhanger, and
they're in prison.
Yep. I don't know exactly how Batwoman ended, but I'm pretty sure it ended with a cliffhanger, too, because a lot of people were saying, bring back the show online, so...
From what I understand, the main arc was resolved. I'm sure there was some dangling plot threads, but, and they teased, a potential future threat. But, Batwoman wasn't, in peril.
Okay.
She wasn't, dangling from a cliff and the rope snapping and her being like, oh, no! The Legends are all arrested.
Yeah.
They ended, with an uncertain future. You could infer, there's a weird monster. Oh, Batwoman punched it in the face. Okay.
Yeah, I guess with Batwoman, at least, it was the adventure continues.
Yes.
But with the Legends of Tomorrow, it's just hey, I'm Booster Gold. You guys are under arrest. What?
And that was that.
Yeah.
I'm glad Arrow got an ending.
Yeah. I mean, what an ending where it's just he becomes the Spectre, a god, pretty much, or messenger of God.
Spirit of vengeance for DC,
yeah.
The wrath of God incarnate. I hope we get to see him one more time in the last season of The Flash. That'd be cool.
Yeah. I'm not as familiar with the Flash TV show, but probably just for closure, I will watch the finale of The Flash without having any context to anything else happening on the show, and then I'll be like, Bill, so what happened on The Flash from season 4 to 9?
It's a lot. It's hey, Bill, who are all these people?
Yeah. What happened to Cisco?
He moved.
He died in a lightning accident.
Die.
Okay, I don't know what happened to him.
He moved.
Oh, okay.
That wasn't a joke.
Oh.
He moved. He works at Argus now.
Oh, okay. Weird.
I'm sure he'll pop up in the last season.
Man, how funny would it be if he shows up in Superman and Lois like Diggo did, and then it's just hey, it's Cisco, but not the Cisco you know. Just like Diggle, but not the Diggle you know.
Yeah.
It's a different Diggle.
Did this Diggle accept the Green Lantern ring?
Yeah, I guess we should go into that, too, because Arrow does have, a cliffhanger of Diggle becoming Green Lantern, and we even find out Diggle's stepfather's name is, Stewart, and it's holy shit, and then at the end he has the box.
The green glow. An alternate universe Flash asks him where his ring is.
Yep.
And then nothing. He rejects it.
Well, you gotta see, Warner Brothers has plans for Green Lantern, but then other stuff happened.
And it was canceled.
Yeah.
Probably. I kind of wish we never saw Diggle again, because that ending moment is perfect.
Yeah.
I never needed to see anything after that unless, you were going to actually have him be Green Lantern.
Yeah. We showed up and he was just I'm Green Lantern now.
Instead he showed up and was I can't open this box. I want to open this box. I need to open this box. I don't want what's in this box.
Man. Well, maybe he is in Superman and Lois. They could have him be Green Lantern in that show.
I won't get my hopes up.
I won't either, Who knows? I feel like a lot of these DC shows, unfortunately, we know Flash is ending, like you said. Superman and Lois.
Is getting a third season. It's filming now.
Which I'm like, is this going to be the last season?
Everything, especially with, I feel like everything's uncertain.
Yeah.
We don't know.
I mean, Titans is getting a season 4 somehow.
Yep.
I forgot, is Doom Patrol getting a...
Yes.
Okay, so they're getting one. Stargirl, who is kind of like the other CW show that is actually consistently really good that it seems like nobody like cares about, but like it's like, hey, this is like probably the second best like CW show on right now, at least in the superhero stuff.
Yeah, hands down. It's like the little show that could. It's so good, but nobody looks at it. Look at this. It's good. It's really good.
But that one from the start is like, it's not connected to any of this stuff.
No, it's its own thing.
Yeah.
It's fine. It wasn't made for the CW. It was made for that DC Universe streaming service. And then when that imploded, it kind of got ported to the CW.
Exactly. But Stargirl's cool. Her stepdad is not short for mediocrity, which is awesome.
He's the Godfather.
I guess so, yeah.
That reference is pretty old school.
Yeah. I guess so, yeah. But Arrow, the superhero show that started a universe.
It really did. And it led to the live-action cinematic multiverse of DC.
Yeah. It's this show's fault that there's too many superhero shows on the TV.
Yes, it is.
So if we could go back in time and make sure the show fails, then we wouldn't have to watch all this shit.
There would be no Disney Plus Marvel shows?
Maybe. But to be fair, I liked watching most of the shit until there was too much of it.
There really was a point where it was just like there's too much. And I think part of my motivation for quitting some of them was just that there was too much.
Yeah.
And it was just like, this isn't as good, so I'm not going to watch any more Supergirl or Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D.
Yeah. But, yeah. Arrow, still a really good show. If you've never seen it and you're curious, you should go watch it. Although it might be a little complicated to watch after a while.
Yeah, after a certain point, you might want to be like, wait, did I miss an episode? Oh, I gotta watch an episode of The Flash now? Oh, for God's sake. I have to watch a Legends episode before... what the hell?
There's a lot of required reading.
Hey, you've probably seen like 97 Marvel things. Watch a few DC things.
Yep. I guess that's Out of Touch podcast for this week. Thanks for watching.
You have failed this city.
Oh, man.
I had to say it.